Here's a question most people get wrong. Would you rather have $5,000 today or $6,000 3 years from now? Almost everyone knows the answer is today, but very few people can explain why. And that reason, that idea behind your answer, is one of the most important concepts in all of personal finance. It's called the time value of money. Today we're going to talk about its impact and how once you really understand it, the way you think about saving, investing, and waiting will never be the same. Welcome back to Compounding with Callie, where we compound some miles and our money. The time value of money is the idea that your dollar today is worth more than a dollar in the future. Not because of some trick, because of what you can do with it. If you have $5,000 today, you can invest it. You can put it in an index fund, a retirement account, a high yield savings account, anything that grows over time. That money starts working immediately. 3 years from now, that $5,000 could be $6,500 or more, depending on where it's invested. If you wait 3 years to get that same $5,000, you didn't just delay the money. You gave up everything it could have earned in the meantime. That gap between the money is worth today versus later is the time value of money. And there's a simple formula behind this idea. Your starting amount times your year return over time. That's it. You don't need to memorize it, but what it's saying is more important. The longer your money grows and the better your return, the more powerful the result. We'll see exactly what that looks like in a minute. This idea works in two directions, and both are useful. The first is looking forward. You take what you have today and project what it becomes. So if you put $5,000 a day away right now and leave it alone for 30 years, the formula tells you exactly what you end up with. The second is working backwards. You start with your goal, say having $500,000 by retirement, and figure out exactly how much you need to put away to get there. This is how you can reverse engineer your own financial future, rather than just hoping it works out. The big takeaway from both directions is the same. The earlier you start, the less you actually need to put in to reach the same goal. Time is doing a huge portion of the work for you. The problem is most people treat investing as something they'll get serious about later, after the next bill, after the next vacation, after the next race. But later is exactly when this stops working in your favor. Let's look at some actual numbers. Take $5,000 invested today, left alone for 30 years. At a conservative 6% yearly return, your $5,000 grows to about $28,700. At 8%, close to what a simple index fund has returned over stretches of history, that same $5,000 becomes $50,300. Same money, same 30 years, the only difference is the return rate, and that gap is over $21,000. Now here's the part that surprises most people. What if you waited just 5 years before investing that $5,000? At 8%, with 25 years invested instead of 30, you end up with $34,200, not $50,000. By waiting just 5 years, you didn't lose $5,000. You lost $16,000. 5 years of waiting cost you more than 3 times what you put in. That's what this concept is really about. Every year you delay isn't neutral. It has a price tag. And here's an actionable item for everyone new to this concept. Find a free online calculator and start playing with some higher numbers and different amounts over years invested, and they will really surprise you. Just adding a few extra $1,000 or a little more return can make a huge difference in the long run. The concept of compounding is truly an amazing thing. Now let's take this one step further. Because a lump sum example is powerful, but most people build wealth by adding extra money over time, not all at once. So what happens if you invest $5,000 once to start, and then add an additional $5,000 every single year for 30 years? At 8%, you end up with $566,000. And here's what makes that number worth stopping on. Over 30 years, you personally put in only $150,000. That's your 30-year contributions of $5,000. The other $416,000 came from growth alone. You contributed less than a third of the final balance. Time and return did the rest. And that gap between what you put in and what you end up with keeps getting wider the longer you go. At year 10, the growth is a small bonus. At year 20, it's catching up to your contributions. And yet year 30, it's nearly 3 times what you put in yourself. This is why starting early matters more than starting big. Someone who begins at 25 with $5,000 a year will almost always come out ahead of someone who puts in $10,000 a year at 35, even though the late starter is putting in twice as much. The time value of money isn't a complicated idea. It's just a reminder that time itself has a dollar value. Most people spend it without realizing it. Money sitting in a checking account isn't neutral. Money you plan to invest someday isn't waiting patiently. Every month it sits still, it's falling behind of where it could be. Warren Buffett made 99% of his wealth after his 50th birthday. Not because he got smarter, but because he had decades of growth stacking up behind him. You don't need a lot of money to start. You don't need to pick the perfect investment. You just need to start, and start now. Because the single biggest variable in building wealth isn't how much you earn or how smart your picks are. It's how much time you give your money to grow. Thanks for tuning in. Same pace next time. Keep compounding.